In 1999, Margaret Stroebe and Henk Schut got together, built and created the dual process model, which was new and innovative at its time, building on the work of previous giants John Bowlby and Bill Warden. The dual process model that they created is an amazing tool for therapists and volunteers to help understand and gain insight into someone's grief, but also as a tool to hand over to someone deep in their bereavement and their grief, so they too can understand what is happening to them. Stroebe and Schut posited that there are two spheres that we spend time in: loss-oriented work and restoration-oriented work, both of which are stressors. It's important to note that as we navigate life and through our everyday life experiences, we will oscillate between these two spheres. This was the new concept that they handed to us. When we're in the loss-oriented phase, we're focused on the work of grief, sadmin, mourning rituals. You can liken it to entering into a room, amplifying the grief music, closing the door, and shutting out the world. We become internally focused. We are quite literally focused inwards. We're shutting out the world around us. We are absorbed in reliving, remembering, yearning for what has gone, especially if the loss was sudden and shocking. The clash of that conscious knowledge, they're gone, but the implicit knowledge deeply embedded in the brain's neural pathways, that they're everlasting. This loss work pushes away the idea of rebuilding. We do not want to imagine a life without our loved one, and our brain literally does not want to imagine that life either. This is the loss-oriented work that can be all-consuming. A really important point of this model is that the restoration-oriented work is also consuming and could be considered a stressor. Rebuilding is where we do start to engage with the world again, as we have to, we need to. We have responsibilities in life. We are picking up the reins of our life, taking on new challenges, and it may involve forming new relationships. In fact, it will. Not necessarily romantic ones, but as we re-identify ourselves. I am now me, not we. My partner, I'm a husband, I'm a wife, I'm a fireman, I'm a policeman. You know, that loss of identity for other generalized loss. This restoration work is a stressor. And it may seem positive, and from the outside looking at someone, we see them in the shops, we see them socialising, we see them engaging at work. It's still hard work. And I can liken this to, if I were to die tomorrow, my wife, who is a capable human being and a globe-trotting psychotherapist, would cope. But she would find it stressful to feed the cats at 6 o'clock in the morning because that's not her natural waking up time, but it is the cats. Likewise with the tasks that she has outsourced to me, the cleaning of the dishwasher filter, which is terribly important. I think they would be my last words on my deathbed. Remember the dishwasher filter. She would do it, but it would be a stressor for her because she doesn't need to, because that's outsourced to my role. Another one may be, you may have the responsibility to look after the children now. So you may be that call from school, the one that stays at home when they're poorly. This may not have been your responsibility, but it is now. Something you want to do, but it's a stressor. Because both of these are stressors and consume resources, there can be a time when we're just doing too much of the work that we could face overload. We are overwhelmed with all the work of grief, whether it be loss or restoration. This is an important factor to consider, especially in today's world. At certain times, our grief may be amplified, and we once again start to do the work of actively grieving, focusing inwards. This may happen when we invite our grief on anniversaries, death days, birthdays, holidays, where we want to remember. On these occasions, we welcome them back into our households, welcome them back into our lives, continuing bonds. Sometimes, dinner places are set at Christmas and holidays and birthdays, weddings. Other times, we may not expect them to visit us. So when we detect that scent on the air, or we see that movie, we visit that place, we see that photo, and they come, and that grief can overwhelm us, or it can hit us like a wave. But how we react to that grief will be very dependent upon where we are with our adaptation and our journey. Other times, it may be that whilst doing the work of restoration, grief pays a visit. So as we're readapting, as we're filling out forms, as we're setting our stall out in the world once more, we can have that grief visitation. And again, we're back in the work of grief. We can expect our grief to be present for the rest of our natural lives, and we can expect to oscillate between that loss and that restoration work. But with time and healthy adaptation, life will grow around our grief. So sometimes we won't be spending time in either sphere. We'll be spending time in the present, getting on with life. This model is so universally applicable and relatable that we use it in much of our grief work. Thank you, Maggie and Henk, for your insights and your contributions to allow us to do this. And if you'd like to know more, please do check out our website, elephantsinrooms.co.uk. And we've just launched a podcast in November 2024, and the dual process model will be one of the first pods that we do. Thank you very much.